Hey everybody, this is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com. We're back with this week's new comic book reviews, and it's a manageable week. That's the best way to put it. There's a lot of books that came out this week, just not like last week. Last week was crazy. That was like it was a big week. This is a much more manageable size of books to review this week. A lot of new number ones, surprisingly, and some returning books. So kind of a good mix this week. Some very exciting books. So let's get started. First up, we have Batman Spawn number 1, written by Todd McFarlane, with pencils by Greg Capullo and inks by Todd McFarlane. So now this is the third team up of Batman Spawn. And this one, so it's interesting. I'll be really honest. I've never been super impressed with Todd McFarlane as a writer. Obviously, you know, he's a really good artist, but when it comes to writing, it's not necessarily as good as his artwork. But I will say, with him writing this, it's actually not too bad. I wouldn't say that it's the most brilliant story I've ever read, but it's actually not too bad. So the basic premise is that Bruce Wayne's parents, specifically Martha Wayne and Spawn's wife, Wanda, died on the same day. But obviously, you know, they're in different universes and stuff. And what this kind of is the mixing of the two universes. And what it is the night, the Court of Owls has discovered that there's some sort of connection between Spawn and Batman on this specific day, because they're like his Batman's mother and Spawn's wife died on the same day, so there's a connection. And on this particular day, they can kind of, you know, once again, it's kind of take over the world sort of, you know, premise, basic structure here. And that's pretty much it. And so you know, initially they meet and they kind of start beating the snot out of each other because, you know, Spawn thinks that Batman's an actual demon. And he's like, oh, look, he's human. And really, I mean, the big thing that really made Greg Capullo is a really good artist, and obviously he's very associated with like the Court of Owls, and like I said, the story's not particularly bad. Ultimately the story didn't insult me, and that's really a win for this book. And of course the artwork's really, really nice. I mean, Capullo, his artwork is really good, and actually McFarlane's inks don't actually really overpower his pencils, which I was worried about a little bit. I think you kind of see a little bit more, say, heavier inking maybe on Spawn character, and then the Spawn, you know, the other one. So I think that may be where, you know, Todd kind of inked a little more like, you know, where it looks a little bit more like Todd than Greg, but it still looks like Greg's stuff through and through. But ultimately it's not bad. You know, it's a fun crossover. It's a one and done story, which is always nice. So I'd say it's worth picking up. It's kind of fun to see. You know, you don't get to see a lot of these crossovers, you know, through intercompanies much anymore. So it's kind of a treat, and, you know, and it's a nice little book, for, you know, for the holidays and stuff. Next up we have Invincible Iron Man number 1, written by Gary Dugan, with artwork by Juan Ferengi. So this is kind of a somewhat of a soft reboot of Iron Man. So what it is Tony is not necessarily broke, but he's used a lot of his vast fortune to buy up weapons of mass destruction. So, you know, trying to help, you know, save the planet from itself. And so that's kind of the premise. And then what it is so Tony lives in like an apartment building, and, you know, down in the basement, you know, he has like his lab and everything. He only has one Iron Man suit left. And so the building gets blown up. And so, you know, he really, you know, what little money he had, he pays off the lawsuits and the, you know, the people that died in the explosion. And so it's really kind of a fresh start for him. And then, you know, so we kind of have a bit of a murder mystery set up, you know, to find out, okay, who's going after Tony and blah 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 and all this kind of stuff. And that's the basic structure of it. Once again, it's an okay book. I wouldn't say that I was necessarily blown away, but it was the story was good. It was interesting. You know, it's pretty standard superhero stuff, which, you know, is a catch-22. The artwork by Ferengi is actually really nice. It's a good looking book. But you know, but it's in the end it's kind of average. But if you're looking for a good hopping point onto an Iron Man book, this is definitely a good, you know, jumping on point for it. Like I said, I wasn't necessarily overwhelmed with it, but it was a decent story, nice art. You know, it's pretty decent in the end. So if you're looking for an Iron Man book, it's worth checking out. Next up, we have Love Everlasting, number 5, written by Tom King, with artwork by Elsa Cartier. So once again, it's really interesting because these are kind of done in one stories, but there is kind of an overall story arc. So what it is, she goes to this basically psychiatrist, and then she starts recounting, you know, her like, you know, many marriage proposals, and she's turned them down, which we kind of seen in the previous issues per se. And then we, you know, it's kind of this issue is kind of like a giant therapy session where, you know, she goes to kind of find out why she can't find love, or why, you know, this isn't happening. And then, you know, and instead of having daddy issues, she has mommy issues. And so that's the basic thing. I mean, I really love this book because it's kind of like, it is a romance book, which is, you know, like I said before, I can't think of the last romance comic, even, or at least mainstream comic that's come out. What's interesting about what King's doing here is, like, it's weirdly connected and not connected at the same time. And it's very fascinating, how he balances all these things. And, you know, he does have throwbacks to like the previous issues, which, like I said, it's really weird. It's like, but that's what really I love about it, is that it's very centered as a love story, but then there's all this kind of like past and stuff, you know, like different lives almost. And it's like I said, every issue is quite fascinating. I like that it's somewhat self-contained each issue, which is a big plus. And then Cartier's artwork, I really love her artwork. It's really just gorgeous. Adds so much to the flavor and feel of these stories. I just dig it. It's one of those. It's kind of like every month I look forward to, okay, what is Tom and Elsa going to do this month with the characters? And I really like it. I still dig it. I still think I enjoy reading it every month. So we'll just keep going. And I don't know how many issues it's going to be, but I'm digging what they're doing. Next up is Danger Street, number 1, written by Tom King with artwork by George Fornes. So what it is back in the 70s, there was, and I'll show you, there was a hardcover reprint of it. First issue special, DC First Issue Special Presents. No, it's just first issue specials. I'm thinking of DC Presents. So what it was is it was kind of like a clearinghouse and like kind of concepts to see if they would work as a series. Now, the majority of them, honestly, all of them, there was only one book that actually came out of that particular series, and that was Warlord. By Mike Grell. Now, that book was already greenlit as a series. They just still put the first issue in DC First Issue DC First Issue Special. So all the other characters were just, there was like Creeper. So what Tom King has done is he went back and read all of those, because there were 13 issues that were published. And honestly, some of them are absolutely terrible. Some of them make no sense. And he, you know, Tom King even said, these make no sense. But like, there's Lady Cop, there's Starman, but it's a different Starman. The only characters that are going to be known is there's Dr. Fate, Metamorpho, Creeper, and Warlord. Also the New Gods, because that was they were trying to reboot the New Gods at that point. And so what Tom King has done, he's taken all these characters and put them in this story called Danger Street. And so this first issue kind of goes through and introduces, most all of them. And where the title comes from, there was a Kirby issue called The Dingbats of Danger Street. And yes, they're in it. And I think my favorite thing is Tom King actually, Lady Cop is in there, and one of the kids actually makes fun of her by calling her Lady Cop, and she's like, "Don't call me that." It's really fascinating because it's like this. He's taken all these characters that most people are not going to know, and the thing is, you don't have to have read any of those issues to get this. I do want to say this. But if you do want to kind of see where a lot of these concepts, or these characters, I'd say more characters over concepts, come from, then definitely like I said, there's a hardcover of DC first issue specials. And that's available. I looked it up. You can get it at Cheap Graphic Novels or In Stock Trades. They both have it in stock, so I did check that. But getting back to the Tom King, George Furness, I really like how he presented all these characters. There's obviously this mystery going on with Warlord, Metamorpho, and Starman have Dr. Fate's helmet, so there's some sort of key to that. And then of course there is mention of Darkseid, so obviously Tom King is going to use the New Gods into this series. The only character that I did not spot that did have an issue, there was a character named Codename Danger, who was like this assassin, and I didn't notice him in the first issue. He might be there, but he might be like a little behind the scenes. But either way, I found it very fascinating because he's taken these characters, and this is what I love about Tom King, is he takes characters that kind of nobody else wants or nobody knows of, and especially in this case, and he weaves this story. It's just really fascinating how, once again, there's basically kind of 13 characters because of the 13 issues, and he's just weaved this interesting story with these characters, and of course updated them to kind of modern times. There's a number of characters that are Kirby. There's Manhunter, there's Atlas, Dingbats of Danger Street. Those were all done by Jack Kirby. And so, like I said, it's just really fascinating. And then the big win beyond that is George Fornes's art, and I love his artwork. He teamed up with Tom King, and they did the Rorschach maxi series, which was absolutely incredible. And really, one of my favorite pages is the introduction of Creeper, and just the way he lays it out and everything. I love his artwork. He's absolutely perfect for this book. And the way he's able to handle a lot of different characters, and it's really a good book. It's really, really, I love this book to death. It was amazing. And it's definitely one of the big picks of the week. I love this book. Definitely check it out. It's a must-buy comic. Next up, we have Bone Orchard Mythos, 10,000 Black Feathers, number 4, written by Jeff Lemire with artwork by Andrea Sorrento. So now we're starting to see where things are finally coming together, where we have the past and the present, where the two girls, one of them disappeared. The other one's trying to knows that she wasn't murdered, and she's kind of figuring out that she wasn't murdered. She's kind of disappeared, and she's trying to uncover what has happened. And in this issue, without trying to give too much away, she discovers what appears to be like a portal, and it's kind of leading into, okay, we're gonna actually start to really find out what has happened to her when she disappeared. And so it's like I said, this is what I love about this book, and a lot of Lemire and Sorrento's books, is it's a story that really just kind of washes over you, and then each issue has just kind of peels back these layers of this mystery, and it's really fascinating how this is all unfolding. And like I said, it's not a big blowout type story. It's more of this layering, more subtle, which I really love. Those books are really hard to do. because you don't have these big set pieces, these big action sequences and stuff. And like I said, Lemire and Sorrento are just so good at it. And like I said, it's definitely, I've really loved this book. The writing, Lemire's writing, I'm a big fan of his, and this is really wonderful. Sorrentino's artwork is always top notch, and he's really just nailing these Mytho books just so well. So like I said, we're at the 5th issue. I believe the next, it's either 1 or 2 more issues left. But I would say, at this point, you might want to wait for the collection, because it's going to be really tough to find those first few issues. But like I said, if you do find them, I love this book. I really like where it's going. And I'm excited. Every issue I look forward to, more of the unraveling of the mystery. Next up, we have Art Brut, number 1, written by W. Maxwell Prince, with artwork by Martin Morazzo. So this is the same team that did Ice Cream Man. And what the basic premise is that this group, this, I guess you could almost say terrorist group, they're actually changing artwork. So really, so it starts off that people go in to see the Mona Lisa, and the Mona Lisa is actually winking. So the artwork's been changed. So what it is there's this one guy, he can actually go into artwork. So there's this other world behind the artwork, and he's able to access it. Because he's kind of, I don't want to say he's crazy, but obviously he's kind of got some mental issues, but that allows him to kind of go in, and there's this other world. When he's in the other world, he's kind of normal. So it's kind of like that, in a way, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, where he has these two, in the real world, he's kind of autistic or something, kind of like that, where in the other world he's fully cognitive, and it's really quite fascinating. Like I said, the premise is really, really neat. It's because I know Ice Cream Man was kind of a little bit of off-putting because of some of the themes that it did. This is pretty much a straightforward story, not as kind of weird as much. I mean, there's definitely some weird stuff, which is good. But Prince's story, like I said, it's really fascinating. He sets it up really well. And then Morazzo's artwork is just really, really it's good stuff. I really liked it, and was definitely intrigued by this first issue. I enjoyed it, and I'm excited to kind of see where they take it. And plus it kind of like the Mona Lisa, so they're going to deal with real, famous paintings and stuff. So that'll be a lot of fun. Next up, we have Nightclub number 1. Written by Mark Millar, with artwork by Juanan Ramirez. So what this does is, so this kid decides he wants to be a YouTube star. So he decides to, instead of just taking his bike and jumping over ramps on the ground, he decides to do that on top of a roof. And guess what? It doesn't go well. And so what it is while he's in the hospital, he's near death because he's totally messed up. So this vampire comes to the hospital and, turns him into a vampire, and then, basically, does the I guess the Twilight thing of where vampires can, tell people what to do. So he tells his mom that he's okay and everything, and convinces, and so what it is, he's kind of starting this gang, but not to go out and make other vampires. That's kind of the twist that Millar's doing here. And so you can see by the cover, there's a whole luchadora. So what it is this kid, because obviously they can't go out during the day in the sun, he gets this idea of wearing protective clothing, and of course you wear a luchadora mask that covers your face, so you'll be safe. And that's kind of where it's set up here. Look, I'm not necessarily the biggest Mark Millar fan, but I think this has kind of an interesting premise. He's really good at coming up with ideas. Usually, for me, it's the execution where it kind of falls off a little bit. But like I said, I think the concept's good. We'll kind of see where it goes. Ramirez artwork is actually pretty nice. There was a couple times where I felt there was a little inconsistency, but it wasn't. Excuse me, it wasn't terrible. And it did the job pretty well. I think it was a good setup. And plus, the first issue is only $1.99, so that's actually a pretty good deal. So, while I wasn't overwhelmed, I think for $2 it's kind of worth a throw. If especially if you kind of like vampires, and it was kind of a different take, but I did like the fact that they kept a lot of the vampire mythos instead of like trying to create new stuff, which usually almost always fails. Next up, we have Dark Ride #3, written by Joshua Williamson, and artwork by Andre Bresson. So, what this issue is, so we now have, there's really a conflicting thing between Sam and Halloween, and so we're also starting to learn that the kids are starting to discover that people are going missing in the park. So that part of the story is starting to kind of bubble up into their story, because they're once again they're kind of like they want to be daddy's favorite, they want to run the park, they want to do all that stuff, while Sam's daughter, as we saw last issue, was kind of attacked by some of the demons at the park. And it looked like she tried to kill herself, but we know that the demons are kind of behind it. So we still don't quite know what the demons are. Is the dad controlling them? We don't quite know. But the sister of the guy that disappeared from the first issue, she's snuck into the park to kind of find out what's going on. And so we're starting to see kind of that part of the story come back around. And like I said, I will not spoil it, but there's kind of an interesting last page to this. I'm actually really liking what Williamson is doing here with the story. I think he's laying it out well. I like the conflict between the two daughters. The dad's kind of a mystery. We don't know. Then we have the weird demons that are like real. So there's kind of a lot going on, and it's moving along, at a nice pace here. Bresson's artwork's really nice, and I'm still kind of digging it. I like the concept. It's kind of once again, it's really kind of a dark version of like Disneyland in some respects, but with a lot of other stuff thrown in. And so we're gonna keep going on that. Next up, we have Dark Crisis Big Bang #1, written by Mark Waid, with artwork with pencils by Dan Jurgen and inks by Norm Rapmund. So this story really centers about Barry Allen and while he was, it really is a throwback to Crisis on Infinite Earths, where Barry was trapped by the Anti-Monitor. And so I wouldn't say that this is really necessarily hugely story heavy. And it definitely is something more, if you're reading Dark Crisis, you don't necessarily need to read this, but really what this is really Mark Waid going through and adding new Earths to the to the DC universe. So you have we kind of know there's the Batman 66, which is the Adam West series. That universe exists now. Probably the most interesting one is Earth 789, and so what they are doing is they're combining Batman or Superman 78, the Richard Donner film, and the Tim Burton Batman 89, in that they are in the same universe. He also points out the Tom Taylor Knights story is in its own universe. So really it's kind of like they're just showing the different universes, and then it's kind of Barry's story of how he defeated the Anti-Monitor and all that stuff, harkening back to Crisis on Infinite Earths. And so really, and then at the back there's a layout of like the different Earths and how they're all connected, and who lives where. And like I said, it's not necessarily, I don't think it's something you necessarily need to read. I did like it because it kind of showed like a lot of the newer universes that DC has created since Crisis on Infinite Earths. So really that's kind of what it is, and it's kind of like Wade putting the pieces of the puzzle together to kind of show you, okay, here's the layout, here's the new Earths that are involved. So and Dan Jurgens and Ratman's artwork's actually nice. I mean, goes back to like, he's old school and everything, and it has a good look, and once again, there's a lot of single panels with just like those different Earths. I liked it for what it was. Like I said, I wouldn't say it's a must buy, but if you kind of want to have it to kind of see where all the different Earths, in the DC universe are, then it's worth picking up. And finally, this week we have Batman Scooby-Doo Mysteries #3, written by Matthew Cody with artwork by Eric Owen. So, once again, I'm a huge fan of this book. I love these books. They're one and done stories. So this one, ironically, comes out the same week as Batman Spawn, because it also is a story about the Court of the Owls. And so that was like, because I obviously read Batman Spawn first, and then I got to this, and I'm like, oh, wait a second. It's Court of the Owls week. So what the mystery is there's this mansion that was owned by this guy, and somebody, Bruce Wayne wants to buy it, but nobody buys it because it's haunted by like the Court of the Owls. And so that's the basic mystery, and then they have to, because what it is the owner's daughter, the guy who won't sell it, is having a birthday party, and only Bruce Wayne and the Scooby Gang show up, so that's why they're there. They find, they solve the mystery and unmask the villains who are behind the whole thing. It's once again, it's a Scooby-Doo mystery with Batman, and they're fun. Cody's story was really a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Especially like the way he did the flashbacks of the time periods. How people were scared away in the, like the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and that kind of stuff. That was a lot of fun. That was really, I really dug that in the script. And then Owen's artwork I really liked his artwork. This is the first I've seen his artwork that I know of. But his artwork is really, really good. He does a great job of capturing that animated style. And it's just, he really put a lot of detail in it, which I really like, because a lot of times, because the especially the Scooby-Doo is kind of limited animation, there tends to be like not a lot of backgrounds and very simple, where he really put the work in there. So kudos to Owen, for doing that, because it really looks good. It's one of the best, and that's not a knock on any of the other artists. But I think in this particular story, it works really well with that extra level of detail, and it was definitely appreciated as I was reading it. So it definitely, and once again, they're one and done, so you can pick up this issue. It's great. It's a wonderful all ages book. I cannot recommend this book enough, because it's just every single month it's so much fun. So definitely check it out. That's going to do it this week. I think we've done pretty good. As always, public service announcement. I get all my comics at Pulp Fiction Comics in Long Beach, California. Ryan Skinner runs a great store. Annie, Eduardo, Derek, Wendy. It's a really great team. They offer, they have a great pull service, so that's why I get all my books, because I go and look, they're in my pull box. And so they're really good about that. They offer discounts on trades and graphic novels, 30%. They have a really good manga selection at 20% off. Right now, they've got some great DC graphic novels and kids book at half off. He got them in time for the holidays. They'll make great gifts or stocking stuffers. And if you're in the LA area, there's Pulp Fiction Culver City. Same name, different owners. Chris and her team run that. They have a lot of the same discounts, pull service. So if you're up more in the LA area, that's if you're closer to that, definitely check it out. But if you're in the South Bay area or Long Beach area, definitely check out Pulp Fiction Long Beach. It's a really good store. I cannot recommend it enough, and the customer service is top notch. And as always, please support your comic shop. I know things are kind of tough out there. Belts are tightening. I get it. Comics are not a huge priority, but Definitely, if you've ordered stuff, definitely pick up your stuff because they've already paid for it. You need to pay them. Supporting your local comic shop, they're really the backbone of the industry. They make sure that the customers get the product that they need. And so definitely make sure you support your local comic shops. Very important. And as always, we end our show with be kind. Being kind it's good, not just this time of the year, every time of the year, every day of the year. Just be kind to people. Just even the simple things like opening a door for somebody or just saying hello or thank you, have a good day. It's little things like that that really make a difference in everybody's lives. And it's like I said, it's really important. I know things are tough out there. Trust me, I get it. I really get it right now. But being kind doesn't cost a cent. And being kind, really fills your soul. And we really need to take care of each other at this, with all the stuff that's going on in the world. But as always, hey, we have comics every week, and honestly, that fills my soul. So thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please share it. Comments are welcome. And just take care of yourselves out there. Be safe. Be kind. This is Steven from popculturemaven.com signing off. We'll see you again next week, and take care of yourselves, folks. Bye-bye.